Welcome, esteemed viewers, to a chilling journey through the dark shadows of ancient history. The curse of King Tutankhamun has terrified the world for over a century, claiming many lives. We were told that opening his sacred tomb unleashed an ancient and unstoppable magical vengeance. But what if the true killer was not a ghostly pharaoh, but something far more real and deadly? Today, we strip away the myth and use modern science to reveal the shocking hidden truth at last. In the scorching heat of 1922, British archaeologist Howard Carter made history. According to historical records, he finally pierced the sealed doorway of an untouched royal tomb. Through a tiny hole in the limestone wall, a flickering flashlight beam pierced the absolute dark. The heavy air inside was incredibly thick, suffocating the men with the dust of 3 millennia. As his eyes adjusted to the dim light, wonderful things began to emerge from the deep shadows. Mountains of pure, solid gold and priceless artifacts glimmered brightly under the weak yellow beam. Standing right behind him, Lord Carnarvon eagerly awaited the news of their spectacular find. This wealthy aristocrat had funded the entire exhausting expedition for many grueling years. The grand discovery promised them immense fame and eternal historical glory across the globe. However, their triumph was immediately overshadowed by a terrifying and dark omen of death. Near the heavily guarded entrance, a chilling warning was intricately carved into the ancient stone. The chilling inscription promised swift death to anyone who dared to disturb the sleeping pharaoh. 2 imposing wooden statues of Anubis stood silently as eternal guardians of the underworld. Their piercing golden eyes seemed to judge the reckless intruders who breached the sacred place. At first, the educated modern men simply laughed off the dire warning as a primitive superstition. They believed that scientific progress had completely conquered the irrational fears of the past. But the deeply suffocating atmosphere inside the cursed tomb told a vastly different story. Every single breath they took was heavily laden with the stagnant and corrupted air of history. Little did they know that the pharaoh's terrible vengeance was already beginning to unfold, silently. Would you have dared to open that ancient sealed door, knowing the dreadful curse in the dark? The team continued their meticulous work, cataloging every single precious artifact found inside. Howard Carter relentlessly pushed forward, completely obsessed with the magnificent treasures. He spent countless exhausting hours inside the chamber without any proper ventilation at all. Meanwhile, Lord Carnarvon began to feel strangely unwell beneath the burning Egyptian sun. A seemingly harmless mosquito bite on his pale cheek quickly became severely infected. He carelessly sliced it open while shaving, introducing deadly bacteria into his bloodstream. His immune system, already weakened by previous injuries, struggled to fight off the infection. The aristocrat rapidly deteriorated, confined to a dark and sweltering hospital room. Fever ravaged his frail body as he hallucinated wildly about the ancient Egyptian spirits. Newspapers around the world eagerly reported every detail of his agonizing and rapid decline. The public was thoroughly captivated by the terrifying idea of a magical and ancient curse. The tragedy would soon escalate into an unprecedented global phenomenon of absolute fear. On a fateful night in 1923, Lord Carnarvon finally succumbed to the illness. Exactly at the very moment he took his final breath, something truly inexplicable happened. The entire bustling city of Cairo suddenly plunged into an endless and terrifying darkness. Every electrical light went out instantly, leaving the frightened citizens in total panic. Engineers desperately searched for the cause of the blackout, but they found absolutely nothing. Thousands of miles away, in foggy London, another chilling event added to the growing legend. The Lord's beloved hound suddenly stopped, raised its head, and unleashed a sorrowful howl. Moments later, the loyal animal collapsed and died instantly, without any physical cause. The global press seized upon these bizarre coincidences to craft an irresistible story. The wrath of the Pharaoh became the most sensational and terrifying headline of the decade. But the relentless curse did not stop there, continuing to claim the lives of those involved. Over the next several years, a terrifying chain reaction of tragic deaths shocked the world. More than 20 individuals connected to the expedition met inexplicably gruesome ends. Some wealthy financiers threw themselves from tall buildings in severe fits of madness. Other researchers succumbed to mysterious fevers that baffled the most brilliant medical minds. An eminent professor who translated the tomb's ancient texts departed this world soon after. The shadow of the vengeful mummy seemed to stretch across oceans, hunting the trespassers. Even the closest relatives of the archaeology team were not spared from this horrifying fate. An associate of Carter was poisoned by arsenic in a seemingly random and tragic accident. The terrifying statistics were impossible to ignore, fueling widespread global hysteria. People began to genuinely believe that ancient Egyptian priests had mastered forbidden magic. They believed lethal spells were meticulously woven into the fabric of the burial chamber. However, an insidious, invisible enemy was actually responsible for these gruesome deaths. Howard Carter firmly rejected the absurd supernatural theories with immense frustration. He continued to document the breathtaking artifacts while surrounded by immense public panic. Yet even his logical mind could not entirely suppress the creeping chill of human anxiety. The psychological toll of the terrifying rumors weighed heavily upon the surviving members. They constantly lived in absolute fear, jumping at every shadow and unexplained noise. This collective paranoia transformed the glorious excavation into a living nightmare. The line between ancient magic and simple tragic coincidence became incredibly blurred. As more distinguished archaeologists fell ill, the prestigious excavation site was closed. The magnificent golden treasures remained hidden in the dark, guarded by a specter. The mystery of Tutankhamun's deadly curse demanded a rational and scientific explanation. Modern scientists finally began to carefully re-examine the historical evidence available. They decided to investigate the biological conditions of the dark, sealed burial chamber. What they discovered would permanently shatter the supernatural illusions of the world. The ultimate answer was not found in mystical spell books, but under a powerful microscope. The truth was deeply rooted in the natural laws of biology and the body's vulnerability. If you were exploring a sealed ancient tomb, would you fear a ghost or an airborne plague? Let us leave the superstitions behind and dive into the rigorous science of this fatal curse. Under the bright lights of a modern laboratory, the terrifying mystery finally unraveled. According to leading biologists, the actual culprit was a highly toxic and ancient fungus. Aspergillus flavus, a lethal mold, had been thriving on the mummified remains for centuries. These microscopic killers were preserved in the extremely dark and suffocating environment. When Howard Carter smashed the sealed doorway, a rush of fresh oxygen flooded inside. This sudden atmospheric change abruptly awakened the dormant biological assassins. Millions of toxic mold spores were instantly launched into the air of the burial chamber. The exhausted archaeologists unknowingly inhaled these deadly particles into their lungs. For a healthy individual, this brief exposure might cause only a mild respiratory cough. But Lord Carnarvon was already suffering from a severely compromised immune system. The severe mosquito bite infection provided the perfect gateway for the lethal fungi. Once inside his weakened bloodstream, the aggressive mold destroyed his internal organs. This precise scientific diagnosis logically explains his sudden and agonizing death. As for the other victims, scholars propose a fascinating psychological theory today. The Nocebo effect occurs when a strong negative belief manifests as real physical illness. The overwhelming fear of the curse literally terrified people into severe biological shock. Their intense anxiety triggered massive heart attacks and devastating nervous breakdowns. The human mind became the ultimate weapon to execute the ancient pharaoh's punishment. Many recorded deaths were later proven to be entirely unrelated and random coincidences. Howard Carter, the man who first opened the tomb, lived peacefully for another decade. If the terrifying magic were real, he would undoubtedly have been its first tragic victim. By separating historical fact from wild fiction, we uncover a fascinating truth at last. The deadly curse was nothing more than a combination of natural biology and deep fear. The modern scientific explanation completely shatters the myth of a magical curse. However, the sequence of tragic events still leaves a deeply chilling impression on us. The unexpected power outage in Cairo remains a bizarre and unexplained mystery. It is fascinating how the human brain can manufacture its own deadly and effective poison. The immense psychological pressure literally destroyed their physical health and lives. We must remember that these explorers were venturing into the absolute unknown. They forcefully disrupted a sacred resting place that had been sealed for thousands of years. Their profound guilt and terror likely accelerated their mysterious and tragic demises. Today, the magnificent golden mask of Tutankhamun rests safely in a grand museum. Millions of curious visitors gather to admire his breathtaking and eternal glory. The boy king, who died so young, eventually achieved a form of true and lasting immortality. The terrifying stories surrounding his tomb guaranteed that he would never be forgotten. According to ancient Egyptian culture, Speaking a person's name keeps their spirit alive. By creating this massive legend, the global media unwittingly granted his final wish. Tutankhamun is now the most famous and recognized pharaoh in all of human history. The curse acted as an invisible shield to protect his precious legacy from fading away. Modern science has successfully illuminated the dark and frightening corners of the past. We now understand that microscopic biological threats were the true source of danger. Yet our profound fascination with ancient mysticism remains incredibly strong today. The story serves as a profound warning about respecting our fragile and sacred history. Lord Carnarvon paid the ultimate and devastating price for his relentless pursuit of glory. His tragic demise became an inseparable part of the pharaoh's enduring and epic narrative. The heavy stone doors of the ancient tomb have been permanently opened to the world. But the mysterious shadows of the Valley of the Kings still hold many secrets. Every single grain of sand in the desert silently whispers the tales of the ancient dead. We must always tread carefully when uncovering the relics of an advanced civilization. The tragic curse of the boy king serves as a timeless reminder of our own mortality. Future generations will surely continue to marvel at these glorious historical treasures. But the psychological terror of the unknown will forever accompany these dark discoveries. The intense public fascination with the mystical pharaoh's revenge remains unbroken. We are constantly drawn to stories where ancient magic successfully defies modern logic. Although science provides a rational answer, the gripping legend still fiercely endures. The captivating mystery of the burial chamber continues to inspire countless new novels. Perhaps humanity desperately needs to believe that some things are beyond our control. The silent and unmoving mummy of King Tutankhamun has achieved the ultimate victory. He conquered the devastating passage of time, reigning supreme in our imagination. The profound historical truth has finally been laid bare beneath the light of reason. The scientific explanation is logical, yet the power outage in Cairo remains unexplained. Do you believe it was just biology? Or did the pharaoh truly curse the trespassers? If you enjoyed this mystery, please like and subscribe to our channel for more history.